Hi, this is Paul James Caiden, and welcome to the Spirit Side Podcast. In this show, we will endeavor to talk about a wide array of subjects with a balanced and spiritual perspective. We will discuss such things as current events, strange stories in the news, spirituality, the paranormal, and much more. But most importantly, it is my hope that this humble podcast will keep people informed and make a positive impact in the lives of those who listen. So once again, welcome, and I'll see you on the spirit side. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Spirit Side. This is Paul James Caiden, and today joining me on the podcast from the UK is ufologist Richard Lennie. Welcome to the podcast, Richard. It's been a while since we've had you on here.
Hi, Paul. Yeah, it's been about a year, I think, and it's great to be back. It's good to be back to speak to you again. It is.
Life got busy, and we had some sporadic messaging here and there. But you know, it's a funny story. The last time I had Richard on the podcast about a year ago, when I did the title for the podcast, and I wrote whatever the title of the podcast was with ufologist Richard Lennie, and the spelling correction on my tablet corrected ufologist and made it say urologist Richard Lennie, and I sent I sent the podcast out. I sent it to Richard, and I happened to look at it, and I was like, "Oh no!" It was kind of funny, but I had to go back and correct it all. But yeah, he's not a urologist; he's a ufologist.
That's it. Yeah, yeah, they do that sometimes. Yes.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about some new UFO things that he's heard about and saw videos of in his investigations, cryptids, and possibly even the demonic connection with some of these things. So, with that being said, Richard, tell us what's going on out there. What have you discovered across the waters, as they say?
Yeah, right. Well, from sunny old England, it's very, very hot over here at the moment, and good weather as well, so clear skies, and I have been out a couple of times at night to do some sky watching with my night visions, and although it has been quite quiet, I've seen some stuff. I had an interesting photograph going back a few months ago. It would have been the beginning of the summer here in the UK. It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and my daughter was out the back in the back garden, and I went out to speak to her about something, and I just stopped dead, and I looked up in the sky, and I just had this feeling there was something up there. I looked and I couldn't see anything, so I said to my daughter, because I don't have a cell phone at all, but she does, and I said, "Devon, you just couldn't take a photograph of that part of the sky, could you?" And she knows me, and, she's used to doing this because I've asked her before. And so she went, "Yeah, sure, Dan." Just took the photograph. Anyway, I went back inside, and that was that. 3 days later, it was in the evening, I was on the laptop doing some work. And she comes in, and she goes, "Dad, I got that triangle craft you wanted." And I said, "Sorry? What triangle craft?" And she said, "The one you saw the other day." And I was thinking, well, I didn't see any triangle craft. And then I said, "Oh, you mean when I had a feeling there was something in the sky?" And she said, yeah, that's it. She said, look. She said, "I blew it up, and look what I got." And so I had a look at them on her phone, and sure enough, there it was. Now, it was blue sky, okay? There's no clouds at all. There wasn't any clouds for miles, so it's not a cloud, with a gap in it looking like a triangle. It's none of those type of photographs. This was a black triangle. It wasn't sharp. It was a little bit fuzzy, because I think this thing must have been 30,000 feet up, if not maybe even higher. So, of course, I didn't see it with my eyes at all. I only had a feeling, I remember, okay? That's all I had, was just a feeling. And I didn't even specifically say whereabouts. I just pointed up and said, "Oh, it's somewhere up that part of the sky." And luckily, the top right-hand corner of the photograph, she caught it. If she'd been a bit further down, she would have missed it. So she only just got it in the frame. But when you look at the photograph as a normal photograph before you blow it up, it looks like one of my dark grey spheres that I see all the time, during the daytime. But if you enlarge the photograph, the sphere then becomes a triangle. So I have put it up on my Facebook page, and if you go on there, you can see it. But yeah, I've done the normal photograph, and then I've done the blown up one, so you can see the two together. And there's no mark on the lens or anything like that, So, so there you go. I was pretty lucky, but I had a feeling, and I looked up. But I've had this feeling before, going back probably last year. I was walking along and just had a feeling and looked up, and I actually saw something I couldn't explain flying around up there, and I saw that with my own eyes. So, and I've spoken to other ufologists, and they seem to have the same sort of feeling. They have like a connection, and then you just sort of look up. But if sometimes you don't see anything, it doesn't mean there's nothing up there. It just means obviously you need to take a photo of that part of the sky. But on this occasion it worked anyway. And I got this triangle craft. And definitely something up there, because it was dark, it was solid, but you could see it was a craft, and it was just sitting up there, So...
Yeah, I remember you showed me that photo, and...
Right. There you go. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I showed it to you or not.
And the thing that was kind of creeped me out about it is where we used to live. We just moved in March, but it was a place called Ulster County Woodland Apartments. And it was this small apartment complex actually built into the woods. And when you took the garbage out, you had to, walk across this lot all surrounded by trees and woods, to the edge where the dumpster was, and put the bag in. And before you showed me that photo and told me that story, every time I would take the garbage out at night, I had that feeling like just above the tree line, in the space above the dumpster, I felt like there was something there. And I know there are other people, ufologists or people that have seen things that had that sense. I felt like something was there. I took a picture, and there was, some kind of craft. So it's not an uncommon thing.
It's not, no, that's right. It's not uncommon at all, and a lot of people get it. They feel a sort of connection, and like you say, there it is, sort of thing.
Yeah, when you told me that story and showed me the photo, and the next time I took the garbage out at night, and then I was curious. I was like, maybe I should get, my camera, my cell phone, take a picture. And I was like, nah, because if there's like a big mother craft up there, I'm never taking the garbage out again. They could beam me up right through these trees, man.
That's right. But there you go, you see. It's worth taking photos, because you never know what you might catch. But your sixth sense, or whatever they call it, it's something, isn't it? I suppose it's built into all of us, but I believe anyway, and it's just, I suppose, over time you get to use it, or you get to know how to use it, or something gives you that ability.
Right.
But I had that, and and I've seen some strange stuff flying around as well with my night vision. The usual, it's not a bat, it's not a plane, can't really describe what it is, but it looks almost see-through, almost like a ghosty figure, and the thing's bombing it across the sky. I mean, it is so fast. It's no way is it a bird, no way is it a plane, because of how it's acting. There's no noise, there's no exhaust fumes, and like I said, it is almost see-through. It's very, very strange, and these things, I've seen them quite often, but the problem is they go so fast, and what they do is crazy. They go in like, it's almost as if you start to track it, and it knows you're tracking it, and then it sort of says no chance, bye, and it'll go off in a weird direction, and you've lost it. Unless you've got a real big, wide sort of lens on your night visions, and unfortunately I haven't, then you've had it, When Ed Grimsley came over and stayed with me a few years ago, when he was alive, he brought all his night visions over, and they were different sorts, and he had one with a 5-inch lens on it, and I saw one of those, luckily, that night, and I could track it for miles until it went out of sight, and it was like, wow, these are great, but like £3,000, But,
Now, what is the shape of those things? when you see them, are they circular? Are they like a saucer shape?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I'll tell you, it's an odd shape. It's not a sphere. It's not a saucer shape. It's almost, and this is going to sound strange, but it's almost like that sort of when you used to draw a ghost on a page, you know, and you see them on cartoons. It's like that. It's almost like a ghost, like a ghosty sort of figure. It has like a point at the end, and then it goes around like a body, and then it's got a round bit, which I suppose would be the head, but there's no eyes, or you know, that's it. And it's like that, and it's on like an angle, and it literally bombs it. I think some ufologists call them sky walkers or something like that. Yeah, but these things like really go fast, and then they'll just shoot off at an angle, and then they'll try and, you know, lose you sort of thing. But that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of, you know, the old cartoony type ghost things you used to see, you know, like a blanket type ghost sort of shape. So it's sort of like that. It's really weird.
Mm.
Yeah, so, you know, but it's a UFO. It's unidentified, it's flying, and it's a sort of an object. So,
yeah.
you know, it is a UFO. But what it is, where it comes from, where it's going, what it's made out of, I can't tell you. You know, I can only tell you what I see. And by the way, those things, because of the way they look, I know for a fact you can't see them with the naked eye. You can only see them through night vision, because there is another one which is sort of oval shaped. It doesn't move as quick, and it's still exactly the same. It's like almost see-through. It's like a grey sort of see-through. And I remember putting my eyes above the night visions, and it wasn't there. And then I went through, and I could see my CCD screen, and it was there. So, you know, you can only see these things. You need night vision to see them. They're cloaked, or whatever you like to call it, you know. They're invisible to the human eye.
Now, you know, when you tell this story, and the one that you told before we started recording, which I want you to reiterate in a couple minutes, about the craft that the woman said it looked like it was a living thing with blood pumping through it.
Yeah.
The interesting thing that it makes me think of, there is an old UFO documentary, and I'm pretty sure you can watch it on YouTube now that a couple people have it posted because it's in the public domain. It's from the 70s, I believe. It's called Overlords of UFOs. And it's kind of cheesy. It has some weird things I never heard of, and then other things that, you know, stories that you've heard, you can validate and say, yes, I've heard of that. But they had this one guy on there. I remember this one part. And he said that I don't remember exactly how, but he detected through some kind of equipment that there is an invisible predator. And we can't see it with the naked eye. We can see it through certain equipment. It is kind of oval-shaped or round, and that these things are actually alluding to responsible for some of the cattle mutilations, that they're actually carnivorous, and that they feed on, you know, living things here on the earth. So I would say, check that out and find that part in the documentary, Overlords of UFOs, or Overlords of the UFOs.
Yeah.
And I seen that when I was a kid. I must have been, I don't know, 10, 11 years old when I first saw that documentary. And even then, I was fascinated, and it always stuck with me, that thought about the invisible predators, especially now. Here in the United States, I don't know if you've heard with the whole 411 and people that are out there camping.
Big time.
People all over are hearing things, seeing trees move, grass move, and there's nothing there. Like there's some sort of
research at the moment on that. I haven't got all the facts in yet, but I'm picking up some interesting theories, because at the moment that's all it is. But yeah, I've really gone into it big time. I've spoken to David, and you know, and I'm doing my own research on it now because I find it fascinating, and I think there's a connection there. There's got to be something, you know, connected with what we're seeing, and and what's going on with the 411, people disappearing.
Oh, I agree. And I was, whether you want to call it fortunate or unfortunate enough to twice in my life, once with my brother and a friend of mine, heard something coming right toward us. It was roaring like a lion coming across this field, a little field where we used to live when we were kids. Right. And it was right in front of us, and we couldn't see anything.
Wow.
And another time I saw what, if people watch the 411, The Hunted, where the lady talks about, she took a picture and saw something that looked like the Predator out of the Predator movie in stealth mode, and it was jumping from tree to tree.
That's right. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, that's right. You just reminded me of it. Didn't she?
And I saw something like that coming through the woods once, and I was by myself at that particular time. I was in my 20s, or actually my late teens. I would say maybe 19 or 20, and I didn't stick around to see what it was.
But you see TV programs and films, they tend to put these things in. I mean, I only watched an episode, I can't remember what it's called, of The X-Files. It was about a month ago, and it was exactly the same thing. The trees were rustling, they were there, and it was taking people, but you couldn't see what it was. Mm-hmm. Similar sort of thing, but yeah, one minute you're there, the next minute you're gone, and you are gone, literally, and, but definitely 411, David Paulides, your people have got to watch that because it is absolutely fascinating. I find it as fascinating, if not more so, than the UFOs. Because to have a child next to you 1 minute and then literally you turn to speak to your wife, turn back and your 4-year-old is gone. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he is gone. No sound, this is the thing, nothing. In fact, there was one recorded where he was bouncing a ball and the ball was still bouncing and the boy was gone at 6 or 7, and he was gone and the ball was still bouncing. I mean, you couldn't even put that on a movie. It's so hard to comprehend that this is actually going on, in real time. It's just fascinating.
It is, and I kind of think it's all connected. My opinion, and as I research through these things, I really do think that we live in a multi-dimensional spiritual universe. And I
totally agree. In fact, I've been saying that for quite a while now, and I totally agree with that. And it would make sense too, wouldn't it?
It does, and I think when you talk about angels and demons, there are things out there that may be friendly and for us, and others that not so much.
That's right, exactly. So this creature type thing that's flying around, basically, there's a lady in London, East London, in Shoreditch. It's a place, as I say, in East London, and apparently it's on ley lines, this Shoreditch, and it's, there are really powerful ley lines. If you Google it, you will find a lot of information. It goes back, thousands of years, and I think people have been seeing strange stuff there in the past as well. Well, of course, now it's built up. You've got your factories and your office blocks and so on, and you've got Heathrow nearby. So you've got planes coming in low, and this lady, anyway, she lives in a studio flat which is really high up, and at the very top, and she's got this veranda with French doors that she can open. She can go out onto it, and obviously she can see over the whole of East London. And, St. Leonard's Church is to her right, and so on and so forth. And she sees the planes coming in, and like I said, you've got Heathrow down the road. Well, she's also seeing unidentified flying objects. So she sees the spheres that I see. Quick, interesting story. She said it was a big 747 was coming in, gear down, obviously, because coming into land. And she said, Richard, one of your spheres. I said, yeah, that you put up. I go, yeah. She goes, it was under the undercarriage of the plane. She said, and as it was coming around to line up with the runway, the sphere then drops from under the plane. She said, and it goes down. And she said, there's a skyscraper there, and, you know, one of the tall buildings in London. She said, it goes down the side of it. And I've got video of it going down and down and down past all the windows. And I've seen the video, and she's right. I haven't seen the video where it's dropping from the plane, so she started recording it after it just dropped from the plane, but she caught it as it was going down the side of the building. And she's right, it goes all the way down to street level, and then, of course, we lose it. So, yeah, amazing. Well, anyway, so she catches these, but she also catches these other sort of crazy type UFOs, the ones that shapeshift. I've seen the shape-shifting UFOs, but this particular one is like an old World War II or World War I mine. You know, when they're very old mines, we had the spikes coming out of it, and it's black. And she saw it in the distance, and she thought it was a balloon. And as it got closer, she saw the spikes, and she still thought it could be a balloon. So she gets her iPod out anyway to record it. And as it's getting closer, she notices that the spikes are moving sort of in and out of the body of this thing. So she thinks, oh, that's not right. So this could be something else. And then as it gets closer and closer, because it's coming towards her, literally coming towards her studio, she said she could see a glow coming from within the body. So this thing is quite big. I mean, if you think of the biggest beach ball you've ever seen, it's probably that size or maybe a bit bigger, with these spikes coming in and out of it. And in the middle of this black sort of, she said it was like latexy black sort of skin it had around it. It started to glow a sort of like a dark red, and it would pulsate. And it looks like it was pumping something around the inside of it. She said it could have been blood or it could have been some sort of liquid, but you could see it literally pumping, around it. And she said as it got even closer to her, it looked like there was a heart in there to one side, and it was beating, and it was literally like our hearts go in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, like that. And you could see it. You could see the heart pumping. So you had that going on. You had this like reddish glow going in and out. You had the stuff going around it. You had these spikes going in and out. I mean, this all was happening at the same time. No sound, and then the thing stops dead. And it literally just stays there. So she got a great photograph of it, and then the thing just literally took off, and it really went like the clappers. It just shot straight off, and it was gone. So she saw that. I've seen a video of it, and it is pretty amazing. It is amazing. And so everything she says to me, it confirms in the video. She's 71 years of age. She hasn't got a clue about how to Photoshop. So don't even go with the Photoshopping part of it, because I can tell you right now, they're not Photoshopped at all. And, and you can tell they're not anyway, because, even if it was very well done, you can see it's not. And then she had this other one where it was like in the distance, in the sky, really far away. It looked like an S, and it was getting closer and closer, and then it would go away and then come back and go away and come back. Anyway, eventually, it seemed to come towards her, and it looked like a snake. I've heard about these before.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, but there's a slight difference with this one. It was ejecting something into the atmosphere, because as it got really close, she could see it. It was shooting something out. She didn't know what it was, but it was shooting something out into the atmosphere over East London. So she was quite alarmed about that. And, I don't know what it was, but she called it anyway on video.
Now I have heard of that before, with these snake-like squiggly things that people see in the sky. And I don't remember where I heard it, but I've heard it before on at least one or two other occasions where people said the same thing, that they seemed to be emitting something into the atmosphere, and they were wondering, is that something to help us, or is something to further harm us here on the Earth?
This is what she was wondering, you see, and she wondered if it was anything to do with the chemtrails, as they call them, don't they? Contrails, chemtrails. She didn't know whether it was anything to do with that, but it wasn't leaving anything behind. It was literally just, she said it was, you could see it coming out, and then obviously it just went into the atmosphere and dissipated. So it wasn't actually leaving a contrail of any sort. But she didn't know what it was, and she didn't know whether it was good or bad, or, what the purpose of it was. And this thing just sort of basically squirmed around, and it went off behind her studio flat to the other side, and then she lost track of it. So she's only ever seen that once. But what made me contact her 3 days ago was that on the, I'll get the date right now, the 17th of this month at 10:26 a.m., she was having a breakfast on her studio, in her studio flat. She had the doors open, and it was a lovely, beautiful day, blue sky, some clouds, but, a lovely day. And she happened to look up, and she saw this huge triangle, dark triangle craft, hovering over Shoreditch. She couldn't believe it, so she drops the tea and literally gets her iPod, goes out to record it. And as she's recording it, it's just going into the clouds. Now, it's on her YouTube channel, and you can see it, and you can get the end part of the triangle going in, but she saw the whole thing. By the time, obviously, she got her iPad and started recording it, unfortunately, half of it was covered by cloud, but it was literally going into a cloud. But yeah. And then, the following morning at 3 o'clock, she was awoken by helicopters. So she looked out of a window to see what the noise was all about, thinking it was police. And they looked to her like military helicopters, like those gunships, because she knows a bit about that, because obviously, some being in the military and so on. So she said they were flying around the same part of Shoreditch that this triangle was. So she doesn't know whether that was any connection to it or not. And then, 2 days after that, on another YouTube channel, Mr. MBB333, a gentleman from the UK took a photograph of what looked like a triangle craft in a cloud from South England. That's what we put, was South England. So, and it looked very similar to the one that June Miller saw out of her studio window 2 days before. So it all sort of connects up, in a certain weird sort of way. So anyway, while I was chatting to her about the triangle craft, and I saw the video and said, yeah, that's great. Wow, that's fantastic. Shame you didn't get the whole thing from the beginning, but even so, that is a very, very important video. Well done. She then went on to tell me about the Mothman or Birdman, or whatever you like to call it, Batman, that she sees occasionally. Well, she's seen it twice now, but the first time she sort of saw it from a long way away because she didn't have the right equipment, and then the second time she was able to get a closer view of it. But basically, from the distance, it looks like a huge eagle, just a big bird, basically. But as it gets closer, you can see that it's not, it's a lot bigger than that, and then you get the part that it's sort of like, looks like a man, and you're getting male features, like a torso, and a sort of a head, and legs. And this thing, she reckons, is about 4 foot tall, with a huge wingspan. And then it basically flies over, and there's a building that's being erected at the moment, office blocks opposite her, and half it's made, sort of, and half it's still in construction. And it's got like scaffolding around it. And this Birdman, for whatever you'd like to call it, comes down and literally perches on top of the scaffolding, and then the wings fold in to like a half diamond shape either side of its body, torso, and then it climbs up onto the part of the building that has been erected, goes around the back, over the back of top of the building to the back of it, so you don't lose sight of it for a minute, and then you see it literally walking through from the windows that have been put in. You can see it walking around the back of the building. And she said she was following it, recording it at the same time, so she's got all this on video, and then waited to see what it would do. And after about 5 minutes, it then reappeared and flew off. Now, she has seen it once before, but she said it's definitely not a normal bird. This thing is big, and I mean big, like 4 foot tall. And it's got like a man-type torso look to it. So Now, I've heard about people seeing like stormtroopers in the sky, and I've heard other people saying that they've seen witches in the sky as well. So I wasn't surprised completely, but at the same time, with the wings and everything and the way it was flapping, because the stormtroopers, they just seemed to be like with jetpacks or something, This had wings and it was flapping, and you could see how it was moving. Well, with the others, you couldn't work out how the witch was working, you couldn't work out how the stormtroopers were working, but you could see that this was flying like a bird. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably where, maybe where the Mothman originates from. And she could see it as clear as day.
Yeah, who knows where these things come from.
Yeah, exactly,
And again, it harkens me to, I believe it was Secure Team had maybe about a year ago that had a clip of someone who took a video of one of the fast walkers, those very quick, lightning fast white streaks that go across the sky. Yeah. And he there was one really clear. Somebody was filming this mountain range, and this thing went just right overhead. And he slowed the video down, and it looked to me, I mean, it was white. It seemed to be kind of luminous. And as the thing moved, it looked to me like it had wings, that it was flapping very fast as it was flying by. So,
right.
Who knows, again, what creatures are out there, or beings.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so much stuff going on at the moment. The world, anyway, is, with the weather and everything, is crazy. And we're seeing strange stuff nearly almost every day, and new things. And, who knows what's going to be next. But, yeah, there's strange stuff going on. Also, we've noticed in space, deep in space, there's these lights that are still flashing. I don't know if I told you about them originally, but a few years ago I discovered in deep space that every 10 seconds there's a flash. Only the night vision will detect it. You won't see it with the naked eye anyway. It's too far away, but I'm not saying it's cloaked or anything, but the night visions pick it up, obviously. And it's every 10 seconds. It's almost like a distress beacon. That's what it reminded me of. And then a few nights later, I'll be sky watching, and I'll see it again, but from a different part of the sky. And it won't be every 10 seconds, it'll be every 12 seconds. Then the next night after that, I saw it for a third time in another part of the sky, and it was every 3 seconds. Now, I put this out on Facebook. This is going back a few years ago, by the way, probably 2015. And a guy in Canada was picking it up as well. And he contacted me and he said, Rich, I'm seeing the same thing as you are, and I can't work out what it is. And then since then, I've noticed other ufologists are seeing it as well. So we're all picking it up with our night visions, but what it is, where it's coming from, what the point of it is, we don't know. But nevertheless, it's out there, and another anomaly that we can't explain, but nevertheless, it's happening. And then one of the strangest things I've probably ever seen on night vision was a craft that was going along. Wasn't sure whether it was a satellite, but it didn't look like a satellite. It was going a bit too fast, and it also didn't have the right shape. Because satellites just look like balls, basically, like spheres from the ground. And this thing had like a long sort of nose to it and a bobble at the back. So it didn't look like a satellite. And it was moving quite fast. And then all of a sudden, it jumped like a glitch. And then it would go back into formation and carry on. Now, we've got that on video. And you can see that. Now, what would make it glitch like that? It was almost like a computer glitch. It was very strange. But the important thing about this piece of video, because you can see it, I put it on my Facebook page again, is the fact that the stars and everything else is fine. Nothing else moves, nothing else glitches. Only this UFO moves. Everything else stays as it should. So that means it's not the night visions that's playing up. It means that this thing actually did do that. So that was quite weird. It almost looked like a glitch like you might get on a computer game or something like that. Never seen it before, never seen it since.
When you talk about lights, about a week ago, we usually go to bed, kind of early, because we get up early, and my wife and I both like to read before we go to sleep. So I usually come downstairs to my little office room because I read, and then I'll do like an online course, so it doesn't disturb anybody. And we had gone to bed at about around 8 o'clock-ish. We usually go, so we have some reading time before we sleep. And we have blinds on the windows. And I was sitting here in the chair, and I was just about to read, and I saw this flash of light, like somebody turned a light on outside. And I looked, and there was light against the blinds, and it was spilling through the blinds kind of down the wall. And I thought to myself, this must be my eyes playing tricks on me. Maybe it was lighter than I thought it was, and my eyes are just adjusting. And it stayed that way for about 30 seconds, and then it was out again, like somebody hit a switch. Now, we've been here since March. I've never seen that. Right. It couldn't have been somebody's floodlight, because then I was like, it must have been maybe a car, somebody's headlights, but it wasn't like headlights washing across the blinds, and how we're situated in the trees, where the cars come up the road to come into the complex. There's no way they could position themselves to shine their lights that brightly, on our window.
Because you'd obviously seen that before, haven't you? So you know what a car headlight looks like when it does that. Yeah. This
was literally like it went from 8:15 at night, where it's pretty dusky, to maybe a 6:30 p.m. where it's quite light. It seemed like the whole sky outside lit up, and I regret the fact that I didn't get up and go look. I was going to.
Right.
But then I would convince myself it just must be my eyes adjusting. It's later than I thought it was. But I still can't, I'm not saying that was a UFO or anything strange,
sure.
But looking around the premises, how we're located, cars, outside lights. I mean, all these complexes have outside lights, and none of them are that bright. And I have no idea what that was. It's still puzzling to me what... It seemed to me the sky lit up, there was something in the sky.
I was going to say, for about 30 seconds, yeah? You reckon?
Yeah. It was almost like a cloudy day when the sun pops out from behind a cloud, and, everything is brighter for a minute.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is a meteor or something, but that's the only thing I can think of. But then, would it have lasted that long? Probably not.
Yeah.
10 seconds, I don't know.
Yeah,
I've seen videos, outside cameras that have caught these things, these meteors and comets, what they call them, and they go over, and everything goes really almost like daylight for about 10 seconds, and then it sort of goes dark again.
Yeah, this was a good 30 or maybe even a little more. It wasn't a quick flash like 5 or 10 seconds.
That's what I mean. So it couldn't really be that, could it?
Definitely longer than 15 or 20.
Yeah.
So that it's
shame you didn't go out.
Yeah, I wish I had to open the window and just kind of look up at the sky to see what the heck was going on. Because
apart from, like I said, apart from a meteor, I can't really think of what else it could be. And if it was going for that length of time, then, gosh, I don't know. Yeah, what a shame you didn't go out. Never mind. And then you haven't got any cameras you can look back on, I suppose, security cameras or anything?
No, we don't have anything like that.
No, because if you had, obviously, you better play it back.
It will forever be a mystery unless it happens again, and I can get up and look and see exactly what it was, but I haven't seen it before, and I haven't seen it since.
And there was no sound or anything, no noise?
No sound at all.
No. Yeah, it's annoying when you don't know what it is. That's what urges us on to research and stuff, is when you see all this stuff, it does get annoying, because you see these crazy things and you think, well, where they come from and what's the purpose and where they're going, and, you know, you wonder what it's all about. But it's nothing that we normally see, you know, during the night time or the daytime. There's a lot of stuff hidden within the infrared spectrum, definitely within the infrared spectrum as well, because I know for a fact, because I've seen it, you know, through infrared equipment, where you've got beams coming down and taking up soil and water, which is literally feet in front of you, and you shall not see it at all with a naked eye. There's nothing there. There is nothing there at all. And you put your infrared equipment up to your eyes and bang, there it is, 45-degree angle, two beams come down from the sky, kidney-shaped plasma ball rocking backwards and forwards, stuff going up the beams, and you look closer, you can see it's soil going up. It takes water, you know. And yet, if you didn't have this equipment, you wouldn't know, you know. And that's the thing, there's no noise, there's no nothing. And then, of course, you see the holes in the grass where the soil's been taken.
Right.
But you don't get that until the morning when you obviously can see properly, you know. And this is stuff that's going on. And that reminds me then of the 411, you know, how these people go missing, literally just like that. 1 minute they're there, next minute they're gone. No sound, no nothing.
I know.
There's got to be a connection somewhere. There has to be.
And why do
if they can take soil without making a noise, they can take water without making a noise. Could they take a child? Could they take a man or a woman? You know?
And why
they take the cat? They take old Ebby, you know, when the lady down in Devon. But that was done differently, because when she, this is how it was described to me, the cat in her kitchen, it would stop moving, and it was as if it was going to be sick. It just stood still. And then she said all of a sudden she saw the tiles coming through the cat, and it took about 2 minutes for it to disappear. So it wasn't like a second or 2 seconds, it was 2 minutes. And she said, but eventually the cat was gone, you know. And then an hour or so later it was meowing outside, wanting to come in, because they didn't have a cat flap. So they had to physically open the door to let the cat in. And she said, now I just let the cat out, you know, in the early evening, because I know they'll take him anyway. And it's never been to the vet, it's never been ill, never had any problems, always had a shiny black coat, always happy, always eating, no problems, you know. So they obviously don't harm the cat. If anything, it's probably the opposite. They're looking after it, you know. But it's a crazy world out there.
It is. And our last few minutes here, I wanted to ask you, because you had posted on Facebook yesterday about a lot of the wildfires that are happening, and the glaciers melting, and so much going on in our world. And this is how we started doing this podcast. And I had asked you, do you think that some of the things happening in our world with the weather, with a lot of these wildfires and storms and just the way the world is going, that any of these beings could be responsible or somehow influencing society by and large? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a possibility they could be affecting it in some part or form. But we have discovered that, by the looks of it, the Earth has tilted slightly, as the sun is now setting further over than it should be. And, you know, that is a fact. I mean, we've had so many people bring stuff in. They're looking at their compasses, and the sun's farther over towards the north than it should be at sunset, because it's obviously, you know, yeah, so... But And we know, obviously, that the world goes in cycles, and it's Mother's nature. It's like we shed our skin every 7 years. Eventually, the Earth is going to, go through a certain cycle where it's going to change. So, and I don't think you can change it. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It doesn't matter how many fridges you buy or don't buy, or how many electric cars you buy. What's going to happen is going to happen. It's inevitable, But saying that, with all the stuff that we see through our equipment or with our naked eyes, strange stuff that's going on, if they are responsible in a certain way, which is possible, of course, I'm not saying it's not, would they also be able to rectify the problem? If they were able to rectify the problem, surely they would have probably have done it by now. So, if anything, it looks like it's the other way. So with all these fires that are ongoing at the moment that apparently were started purposely, I believe Spain yesterday had a fire, a real bad one started.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Brazil was really bad. I had a photo sent to me today by UFO Joe. Some of your listeners will probably know who that is. He's a ufologist like myself, uses a telescope but puts on night vision onto it. He sent me a photograph of one of the fires, either it was from Brazil or Spain, and it looks like there's two spheres by it. It could be drones, but I don't think so. I've blown the picture up. They do look like proper spheres. Now, I know for a fact that these spheres that I see in the sky, if there's a disaster, they'll be there, whether it be a tornado, hurricane, a ship on its side, or a plane crash, or take 9/11, for instance, with the Twin Towers. Spheres were seen flying across the Twin Towers before any of the planes struck it, and after. So, and I had a lady send me the video before, because she was just videoing the Twin Towers. I mean, the attack hadn't even started at that point. It was earlier in the morning. So they're around. If they know something's going to happen, like with one of the shuttle disasters, I had photos of that as well. They were all over the shuttle before it took off, and then obviously after it took off, it blew up. That was in 1986, the Challenger. So we know these things are around when disasters happen. But the question, and they always ask me that, but did they actually start that? Did they actually, cause that space shuttle to crash? Did they actually cause that fire? Well, I mean, it is a possibility. But obviously it's a question I can't answer because I don't know. I can only assume.
It is a hard one to answer, and that's
it is a hard one. But saying that, I get your point because obviously if you're seeing all these things flying around, and we do see them, and they do exist, trust me, would they have effect on the planet? It is a possibility. If they're coming into our realm, could it affect our planet in some way to cause the melting more, maybe speeding up the process or something, and bringing everything forward? Yeah, I mean, it is a possibility, definitely.
Yeah,
Wouldn't rule it out, let's put it that way.
They always do show up around disasters, volcanoes that are erupting, fires, storms, floods, tsunamis.
They're observing. We all agree on this one anyway, all of us, most of the ufologists I talk to anyway, we all agree on this. They are observing us every day, right? Every single day they're up there, and they're observing us, and we think that they're recording us, recording what we do. Obviously, we don't know for certain, but we assume that. We don't think there's anyone inside them. They're not that big. We think they're being controlled by something else, which is out in space. So basically, you could say they are a drone, but they're an extraterrestrial drone. They're their version of a drone, not our version of a drone. And they're up there, and they record everything that's going on, and they're inquisitive. And if there's anything like a disaster, they'll be at it. If there's a war, they'll be at it. They won't interfere. They will record, they'll watch and observe, and that's all they do. But if you send up a nuclear weapon of any type, it will interfere and it will take it out. And that has been proven many, many times. So they won't let you basically send up a nuclear weapon because that's then, going to affect the Earth, which makes me think if that's the case, maybe, they haven't got anything to do with what's going on with the ice and the fires and stuff, Because if they don't want us to blow up the world with the nuclear weapons, because they will stop it, they'll switch down the silos and they'll power everything off, then why would they start to, make the ice melt and the fires burn?
Right.
So I think we can safely say on that point, I don't think they are responsible. So that's my argument for that anyway. And it has been proven with the nuclear side, they didn't send up a real nuclear weapon. Obviously, it was a dummy one, but this UFO didn't realize that, and it took it out. And there is actual video of it firing a beam at it, and it knocks it off. And I've spoken to the guy who was in command at the time, and he all confirms everything. So we got to take it as read, that did happen.
It makes you think, too, when you say recording it, at least it makes me think the various religious disciplines like Christianity or Islam that say that the angels are everywhere. We all have a guardian angel. They record our deeds, our words, but there's also angels that record all things that happen on the earth and the scrolls that they will take back, with us when we leave this place. So that
maybe these angels are these spheres that are up there, and your viewers can see them anytime they want. You go out in the back garden, afternoon, blue sky. All they got to do is get a camcorder with a screw thread lens on the end of it and put an infrared filter onto there. The better quality infrared filter, then obviously the better your image is going to be. But nevertheless, an IR filter, screw it on the front of your camcorder, switch the zoom to infinity, push your camcorder to night shot, which is basically the infrared function on your camcorder, and just pan the sky. And you'll see these spheres. Guaranteed, 100% you'll see them. And just record them and show them to your friends and say, look, this is what's above your house. This is what's above everyone. They're up there, 24/7, 365.
Angels, aliens, or other.
That's right, exactly.
But we've the sands of the hourglass have ran out on our podcast here. So with that, we will say we thank you for coming on the podcast and talking to us about your recent findings and investigations. And I hope we gave everybody out there some things to think about. It's a wild universe, a mysterious universe. And, watch the skies. Stop looking at the cell phones all the time and look up. You never know what you'll see because there's a lot going on over our heads.
Look down, look up. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we will do this again in less than a year this time.
Okay.
and I'll make sure you're not a urologist when I post this.
No, I'm a ufologist.
All right, thanks for coming on, Richard. And for everyone out there, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time here on The Spirit Side.